Joseph Apartments Talk Show. We have some great guests this morning to share their wit and wisdom of what's going on in the apartment business today. So I'm going to start on my right with Chris. This episode is sponsored by Chris and his organization. So Chris, take it away. What's going on in the world of 1031 exchanges? And before I ask that question, I just sent a client who is on the fence about whether to sell, nervous about the up leg, what to do. We've got the up leg part figured out, but was worried about where to put the money. And so Chris is going to see them on Saturday. They've already talked on the phone. So what's new, and can you tell us something about the options for clients?
Sure. Well, what I focus on is partial interests in real estate. So I show investors how they can sell their sometimes management-intensive 8 units here in Whittier and exchange into maybe part of a 300-unit apartment complex in Dallas. And I think it makes a lot of sense to consider buying out of state, because here in California, I think we may be at the top of a wave. And I think there's a good case to be made for selling at the top of the wave and buying somewhere else in the country at the bottom of the wave. So I tell people a lot that the United States is adding 1 new person every 12 seconds. And when you do all the math and subtract out everyone who dies every year, that's 2.5 million new residents every year. So that's the size of metropolitan San Antonio, Texas. So it means we're building an area the size of San Antonio, Texas every year to give these people places to live, to work, to eat, and to shop. And now everyone's not spreading out evenly around the country. If we can focus on areas they're moving to, and more importantly, areas that people from elsewhere in the country are migrating to, I think we have a great chance of seeing good rent growth and good value growth in the future.
If you had to pick one area, where would that be in America right now, where money and people and capital are moving to?
I really love the Atlanta, Georgia suburbs. Not downtown, but the suburbs. I say a lot, it looks like Orange County did in 1985. It looks like it's just poised to explode.
So if you want to sell your building and do a 1031 exchange and put it into something we call mailbox management. Chris is, how do we get a hold of you, Chris?
You can call me at 877-313-1868, or you can check out my website at chrismiller1031.com. So chrismiller1031.com.
Hot tip, call Chris, get on his mailing list. I get snail mail from him once a month, and I love it. It has pictures and numbers of properties, of options of where you can put your money. It's very, just by looking at it, it's like a catalog. You can kind of see yourself investing in a shopping center in Nashville, Tennessee or something. So, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
And Lisa, what do you do?
I work here at Joseph Apartments for the last 14 years almost, and if you'd like a value analysis on your apartment building, give me a call and I'll be able to help you with that. Our number is 562-236-0088.
We are working on about 60 properties that we are trying to take to the market directly or indirectly right now, so we're pretty excited about that. Speaking of indirectly or directly, Phil Atwan is here to tell us what kind of mischief he is up to in federal legislation, tax law. And we've done a couple deals this year where my clients have taken their 1031 money out of their equity in their property, given it to Phil. Phil waves a magic wand, and somehow they don't have to pay taxes.
It's amazing. Speaking of that, there are other places in the country that are also blossoming. For example, did you know that Microsoft is building offices in Nevada? Tesla has moved some of its operation there. Amazon and Apple. And the more these other states give tax incentives for companies to come and move there, they have to have employees. And for those employees to be there, they have to have a place to rent and or live or own for themselves. And that's the beauty of what Chris was just talking about. The expansion of other states and our unfriendly environment here in California has really, with its taxation issues, has really led for a lot of investors to start looking at other places. As an example, 1% of the people in California pay 50% of the state taxes. I got that from 2 different CPAs who don't even know each other. Identical numbers. So
1%, 50%.
That's right.
Wow.
that tells you there's an imbalance. And with this Contra Hawkins thing now and everything else that's going on, I'm telling you, investors are looking for better returns.
Contra Hawkins is rent control.
That's rent control. That I believe it's Proposition 10 that you will see on the ballot this November. Vote no. But the bottom line is that California is very unfriendly. Other places are looking a lot more appealing to investment real estate, and that's why we see so many investors going to Nevada, to Arizona, to Idaho. Boise is exploding. Parts of Nashville, especially around Vanderbilt, it's growing exponentially. Parts of Georgia, parts of Florida, these other states are more conducive to investors, to taxes, and to growth.
This opinion brought to us by the Boise Chamber of Commerce does not necessarily reflect the views of Joseph Apartments. Anything going
And
on?
they paid me well to say this.
Anything going on tax-wise we should know about? Any
Nothing's-
trends or
no.
so we've staved off that attack, right?
Yeah. There's new ones that are always going to come down the pike.
But there was a real worry.
We thought we may not be an industry as of January this year.
Thanks to
But-
Phil's lobbying in Washington, D.C. and his
And I was there.
connections.
And the bottom line is that we'll continue to keep the taxpayer informed, the real estate community informed as to what's happening. And but here's a little tip for those of your clients that you're going to be taking listings on who are selling their properties. Some of them are selling in LLCs. In fact, there's more of a trend for LLCs to have ownership in property than other types of vehicles because they're very real estate friendly. But the problem is, if you're in a multiple member LLC and you want to sell your property and you want to divest yourself from a group, you can't do that unless you go through these various gyrations that the federal government presents to us. They're called drop and swap. The other one's called swap and drop. Probably too long for this little video thing, but they can call me and ask me about it if they're involved in
So
an
we
LLC
sell
with
our
other
apartment
people.
building. We then put it in escrow. Escrow then sends the money to you. You hold it. It goes to the next property tax-free. If people want more details, how do they get a hold of you?
Area code 213-479-8800 or philatwan@gmail.com.
That's his private email and phone number. No, he doesn't give that out to anybody. Next, we have Steve from Peak Financial. Steve, what is going on in the financing world?
Well, that's a good question. What we're seeing now with cap rates dropping so much that investors have to put quite a bit down now to get into...
Cap rates dropping means prices are going higher than the rents are.
Correct.
And that's causing a problem with capitalization.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so what lenders are doing, they look at the cash flow in a house transaction. It's mainly comparables, but in apartments, they first look at the rents and the income, and then if the cap rate is too low, what they require is the investor to come in with more down payment. So we're seeing down payments in the 30-40% range, where before it was no problem getting in with 20-25% because the debt service coverage, it's just not there right now. And the other thing we're seeing is a lot of investors now, they're going into the outlying areas. I see a lot of deals being done in the high desert, people going far into the Inland Empire just to get a little bit better cap rates, so they're not afraid to go out and they're not getting as quality of property maybe as they would in the LA and Orange County basin, but they don't want to have to come in with that huge amount of money unless they are doing, let's say, a 1031 exchange. So if they're coming in with actual cash, that's the better fit for
You
them.
realize all three of you have pretty much said the same thing in three different ways, that the end is near?
I wouldn't say the end is near. I'm just saying the opportunity pathways are beginning to change, and you adapt to the changes.
That's exchange for the end is near. Anyway, the good news is that if you're looking to sell your building, you can get a much better price than you could at any time, I think, in my 37 years.
Okay.
It's incredible. And there's some great options if you want to sell. property-wise, tax-wise, and then if you want to finance that new property with 80% down. Just kidding. Steve is the one to talk to. Steve, how do we get a hold of you?
You can call me at 562-818-3502 or go to my website at www.financialbrokers.net, or you can email me at steve.lazarson@peakfinanceco.com.
Or you can just show up at Steve's house at 134. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, thank you for watching. We're here to provide you with answers, resources, and most of all, a buyer for your apartment building. Thanks for watching. See you next month.